Give and Take by Achievingelysium, read by The Little Broccoli. Summary. Shota is hit with a pain-sharing quirk that binds him to Midoriya. Well, it certainly hurts, in more ways than one. The pain is so overwhelming, Shota almost can't get up, pulsing across his chest. Shota sits up, looking down, but there's no blood down the front of his shirt. He pushes up to his knees, and then spots the still body not far away. His chest protests as he scrambles over and then drops down, and Midoriya turns slightly to look at him. His costume has blood on it, a cut down the front of his chest. Shota doesn't hesitate, slipping off his shirt to press down, and pain explodes. His vision whites out. When he comes back to himself, Midoriya is making a strangled sound that is only part of a scream. Sensei! Sensei! The fear trickles in like water flooding the lower levels of the dorms. A slow and steady leak, and then suddenly all at once, seeping across the wooden tile and sloshing as it comes up to his ankles. He's scared. Midoriya's got the same fear mirrored in his gaze. Shh, Shota says, his grip loosened. He presses down again, a lighter pressure, and the ebbing pain flares in his chest. He grits his teeth in the same instant Midoriya does. You'll be fine. The paramedics arrive moments later. Shota and Midoriya go to the hospital together, and they let Shota hold the kid's hand the entire way there. When Midoriya is going to be taken away, Shota suddenly feels a pressing fear drop on his shoulders. It twists in his chest. He doesn't want to be alone. He doesn't want Midoriya to be alone. He staggers forward, Midoriya's eyes shining meet his. Wait, Shota says hoarsely, but he's pressed back and they're separated. His own injuries are minor, relatively speaking. He's got a nasty scrape across his arm and some burns along his shoulder, but Shota's not concerned about that. He's half talking to Tsukauchi while being treated, on his own insistence, despite the disapproving looks he's given. Still managed to apprehend 2 villains, Tsukauchi says, looking over the top of his notepad, but Razorhead, Aizawa. You're certain neither you nor Midoriya were affected by the villain's quirk? Not the group's manipulation, the other one. His chest throbs. Shota's only half listening. He's irritated at everything, as he usually is, and angry that an innocent grocery store run has devolved into a targeted villain attack on a pro hero and his student. Behind that is his ever-present fear. He wants to see Midoriya, he wants to be sure his student is fine. Midoriya's blood still on Shota's hands and under his fingernails. And underneath that is fear and guilt, and Shota massages his chest and tries to reason with himself as that everything is fine. It's over. He's fine. Midoriya is fine. Tsukauchi's looking at him expectantly, and Shota realizes he's been sitting and staring. Suddenly, Shota can't stand the pressure on his shoulders, overcome with a wave of desperation to see Midoriya and to know he's all right. Excuse me, Shota says, standing up. What was the villain's quirk again? We'll debrief. I should go see Midoriya and talk to the others. He has paperwork to do and a worried parent or 2 to reassure, and he's got to make sure his kid is okay if it'll ease the tightness in his throat. Tsukauchi says. The floor gives out under Shota. Someone grabs his arm, the pain in his chest swells, and he's biting down so hard on the inside of his cheek he tastes blood. Aizawa. He hears over the roaring blood in his ears. His own chest is not caving in, but it almost feels like it is. The pain ebbs slowly away, and Shota blinks at the floor as Tsukauchi grips his arms. Shota sees his own fingers tightly grasping at fabric, and the blood under his own fingernails. Shota says slowly, looking at his own hands. That quirk. A pain-sharing quirk, Tsukauchi tells Shota as they stride through the halls. Shota doesn't want to waste another minute, another second. He pushes past everyone who tells him to stop, a quirk that can link 2 targets to feel each other's pain and to share each other's burdens, physical and emotional. The fear that's lodged in Shota's throat, the dulling ache in his chest, the wrongness, it's not just him, it's Midoriya. He's not allowed to see Midoriya even though Shota leverages his pro hero license and his responsibility as Midoriya's teacher and everything else he can think of. He can't think of much because his attention divides somewhere in part of him is giving underneath. The crushing guilt and the heartache and the desperation that Shota recognizes for once isn't his. You don't understand, he bites back. He's hurting. He's hurting so much. Midoriya Inko arrives, runs down the hall. Tsukauchi intercepts, speaking gently to explain the situation as tears stream down her cheeks, but Shota's gaze locks with hers before he can help it. How can he look at her? Guilt twists inside of him. He knows exactly how much her son is hurting, how he feels. How can he bear to look at her? An hour later, with the help of Recovery Girl, the tension in Shota's shoulders eases slightly when he feels the healing quirk take effect. Midoriya Inko talks to her son first. When she has to leave, she looks at Shota and asks him to take care of her son. He meets her gaze again, and the words, "of course," taste bitter on his tongue. But it's Midoriya. "Sensei," Midoriya says immediately when Shota walks in. Panic rises. Shota curls his fist at his side. "I'm sorry." The guilt is enough to fill his lungs. "What are you sorry for?" Shota asks. He sits down next to Midoriya, and they look at each other, and a heavy sort of sorrow slides down the back of his spine. You were hurting because of me," Midoriya says quietly. Shota squeezes his kid's shoulder. "That wasn't your fault. Detective Tsukauchi told me—" "It's fine, problem child," Shota says, voice rough, and he feels his words ripple and his throat close without him wanting to. Midoriya reaches up and wordlessly rubs at his eyes. "Sorry," he whispers. And he is sorry. Shota can feel it. He doesn't understand it. "I'm feeling what you're feeling," Shota says, "and you were injured, and it works the same the other way around. That's not your fault." He wonders how much sincerity Midoriya can sense from him. That's not part of the quirk's effect, but Shota presses as much of it into his words anyway. And he looks at Shota and stops for a moment. Confusion blooms. Shota's chest begins aching with a different pain, and it's his own this time, and he knows it. He's looking at Midoriya and feeling the same strangling fear that Shota carries around with him, next to the keys in his pocket with his fingers brushing past it every time. Realizing that the same burden Shota carries on his own shoulders is shared, amplified. The panic lying under his own skin and the pulsing concern is both what he is familiar with and what Midoriya is feeling. It hasn't gone away. It's been there since Shota opened his eyes and his back pressed to the concrete, and it's been there as he stood in the hospital hallway, and been here. Why are you... Midoriya touches his own chest. His eyes go distant. "Why are you hurting? Why does it hurt? Sensei." "You feel like this?" Shota asks. "You're scared?" "I don't want to hurt you," Midoriya whispers, wiping at his eyes again. "I don't want to hurt you," Midoriya whispers, wiping at his eyes again. Shota bumps his arm with his fist, light enough so he doesn't feel any echoes of pain in himself. "And I'm sorry about the fight and the trip, and it's so much I'm feeling, you're feeling, and it's like I'm aching." "Midoriya," Shota says softly, and he thinks they're more alike than they've ever realized before. "It's because it hurts me when you're hurt, and I don't mean the quirk, problem child. This is how I feel when I see you like this. I want to see you safe and happy." "Oh," Midoriya says. Shota doesn't need a quirk to know he's gotten through, that Midoriya is discovering the depths of Shota's care for him, that for once he might be considering what he means, what he's worth to someone else. "I wish I could share something else," Shota says. "Not the pain, but the impact you've left on me, what you've taught me." But he doesn't need a quirk to share with Midoriya, really. So as the pain comes and goes between them, Shota tells him. Oh, that was such a good fic. Oh, I love that fic. Very good. Okay, I'm gonna go back and do like some big edits. Okay, so that was my reading of, what was it again? Already forgot the name. I am terrible. Give and Take by Achievingelysium. Fantastic fic by a fantastic person. Thanks for letting me podfic this, because this is one of my very first podfics. And yeah, it was really fun to read. and there was a lot of editing because I made a lot of mistakes. But, one thing is, I will definitely be including some bloopers because there were many mistakes made. I think I had over, 20 minutes of recording that needed to be cut down. Yeah, it was a bit of a mess. But yeah, sorry for rambling. Here are the bloopers, and I hope you enjoyed listening/reading. Whatever. Okay, cool. Ciao. He's half talking to Sukauchi. Sukauchi. Such a weird name. Sir? Suki. Can I just say Suki? Will that work? No, it wouldn't. Sukauchi tells us Shota as Sukauchi. I keep messing this name up. It's never gonna be consistent. Oh my god. Slowly away and Shlota. Okay, mister, you got a new name going on? No? Okay, I gotta restart. Dang it, I was going well. Floor as Sukauchi brings his arms. He grips his arms, Broccoli. What you doing? Blinks at the floor as Sukauchi grips his arms. I almost said brings again. What the frig? Like it. Sorry, microphone. I'm abusing you. Okay.